So this is a video that will demonstrate the difference in one color, red, between a mineral and a modern pigment. I'm making this for my painting class at PCC. In the next painting assignment you have, it will be a limited palette assignment. And you will choose a Gauguin or a Cezanne, and you'll have many to choose from. And you'll be copying those paintings. And they're all colorful paintings. Cezannes are a little bit more subdued than the Gauguins, but they're all still pretty colorful. So in copying those paintings, you're going to be allowed to use one red, one yellow, and one blue, and black straight from the tube, not a mixed black, and white. And one of the things you have to figure out in order to be able to copy these paintings and match the colors is the difference between a mineral pigment and a modern pigment. Mineral pigments are the old pigments. They're made from minerals. They've been around forever. Think Rembrandt. Modern pigments are synthesized organic pigments. And one of the primary differences is that the modern pigments are very highly pigmented and intense in color, whereas the mineral pigments are not so much. They can still be quite intense in color, but relative to modern pigments, there's a big difference. So I'm going to show you the difference between getting a pink with a cadmium red, which is a mineral pigment, and a pink using a quinacridone red, both of which you all have in your supplies. And I'm using ultramarine blue also, because I'm going to make a purple/violet with cadmium and one with quinacridone. If you've ever tried to match the purples and violets, the intense ones that you see on the color wheels, which, by the way, that's color theory. This is color practice, where you have to know what your paints will do. And also, you have to understand as much as possible about color theory. But there is a distinction. So with mineral pigments, this is what you're going to get from a mineral red. This is the pink you will get from this cadmium red. And it's a lovely pink. You know, it's this light that I'm doing this in is, I can see it on the video, that it is subduing the color and changing it even. This looks more orangey on the video than it is, but that's fine. And so that's what you get. That's it. It's a lovely pink, and portraits, lots of things. And this is the pink you're going to get from your modern pigment, quinacridone red. So the quinacridone, the modern pigments are those pigments that, have those long, impossible to say names. Some of them, phthalo, blah, 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 all those names. Those are modern pigments. Now, again, I'm looking at the video and I can see clearly that it's washing out the colors a little bit. So I'm going to be uploading these colors for you in a photograph that you can see a lot more clearly. But hopefully you can still see the difference between the pink you get with a cadmium red medium, a mineral pigment, and the pink you're going to get with a quinacridone red. And quinacridone is just one of the many reds that are modern pigments, and also cadmium is just one of the many reds that are mineral pigments. but the difference remains somewhat consistent. The modern pigments are much more intense and highly pigmented. I'm gonna mix a purple violet with the cadmium red and with my ultramarine blue and see what we get. And so it's pretty purple. So it appears anyway. So I'm going to pull some of this aside. And this will be the sort of purple that you would get. Now, if I added more red to this, of course the mixtures, these mixtures, the reds and blue mixed together, can always be altered. You know, you can add a little more red, in which case you'd end up with something a little more violet. Or you can add more blue, and you get something like this, kind of a more purple or mauve, more along the lines of a mauve. Whereas if you mix your quinacridone with your ultramarine blue, and I'm going to try to go for purple here. The quinacridone red it requires less actual paint to tint with a modern pigment also, because they're so highly pigmented and their tinting strength is so strong. So I'm going to pull some aside and create a purple violet, and hopefully you can see the difference. In the two. So I'll go about it. So when you're using, in this assignment, you may need both an intense purple or violet, and then on some other place in the painting, you may need it to be more like this mauve. Now you can muddy up a modern pigment. You can add yellow, which is the complement of purple, or violet, and muddy it up a little bit. You could add a little black. You could add a lot of ways you can muddy up paint. So you can go in this direction, but you can't go in this direction. You will never make this be as brilliant and vibrant as this. So that's sort of a very basic explanation of the difference between mineral and modern pigments. I'm going to be uploading a really excellent explanation also from Gamblin Paint sites. They have a whole link to where they're discussing mineral versus modern pigments. And this will be important for you to know. You're going to be doing a chart before you start your painting where you will be mixing all of your blues with all your reds and yellows. You'll be mixing all your reds with every other color, and you'll be mixing all of your yellows with every other color. And that sort of sounds redundant, but basically, let's just say you start with your ultramarine blue, and then you'd mix it with cadmium red medium, in which case this is what you'd get. And then you would take that same blue and mix it with your other red, and this is what you would get. And then you would take the ultramarine blue and you'd mix it with your yellows. Each yellow that you have 3 yellows, I believe, maybe just 2. Mix it with each one of those and see what you get. This combination, red and blue, obviously is going to get you your violets. Your blues mixed with your yellows is going to get you your greens. And then, so once you've mixed this ultramarine blue, this one blue, with all of the other colors you have, your reds and your yellows, you're going to go to your cobalt blue. And you're going to do exactly the same thing. And then you're going to go to your cerulean blue and do exactly the same thing. And then you'll do the same thing with all of your reds as well. So what you'll end up with is a sort of fundamental idea of what you're going to get from mixing all of your colors with all the other colors. Not all in one pile, obviously, but with each one. And that will help inform you about which red, which yellow, and which blue to choose for this limited palette painting. I'll be uploading the instructions and examples, photos of this kind of thing right here, and the paintings for you to choose from. Okay?